In this video, I will demonstrate the control matrix and the silicone array that I worked on this summer. So the basic principle is that you can add air to each one of these little bubbles in this overall silicone pillow using a syringe to add a set amount of air and by opening up channels to allow the air from the syringe into the bubble. And this is done through a normally closed array of gates, or sliders in this case, and cams. So each slider is controlled by a cam and a servo, and then as it is a normally closed system, every single one of these tubes is pinched off. This prevents air from getting out of these bubbles and prevents air from going into the wrong bubble. And because it's a normally off matrix, when one of the lines is opened, it opens the whole line of tubes, but all of these are closed still, so then none of them are open. But when I open, say, let's just say this one, so this one, and let's say this one, it opens up this whole line and this whole line, which ends up opening this tube right here. So even though multiple lines are open, the combination of the two lines only opens up one cube, or one location. And then each one of these locations is controlled to a certain point on this 4x6 matrix of bubbles. And so the way that I can control how much air is going in is with this system over here. So this is just a normal medical syringe. That's just what we had on hand, and it just works, so can't complain there. And then I have a slide potentiometer and a geared motor on a rack and pinion. So by measuring where the potentiometer is in space, I can know how much air I've added or calculate how much air I need to add. And because they're both linear scales, I can just scale the amount of milliliters I want to how many analog units I want to move, and it just will calculate it. And then add that much air to the selected bubble. So to control the system, I made a little GUI. And so in this system, you can add air to whichever, add a number of milliliters. It can go as little as 0, of course, and that's what its default is. And it can go, the amount of space I have on here is 50 milliliters. That's how big it would go. But each one I can add a certain amount of air to, and I can also reset it when I want to, so it clears out all of the cells. And yeah, so I'll just add a little bit in there just to demonstrate it quick. So I can send it to the system, and then it will fill it up. It goes from up here and just goes through and down to the bottom. So here's a little demonstration of that. And then now that, as you can see, it filled up each of these bubbles, you can see a little bit of curvature. So I was working on being able to calculate an overall surface curvature, but I wasn't able to quite get to that this summer. So that would be a later improvement that could be done. There's also a few other things that could be improved, but overall I'm pretty happy with it. So the next thing, another good feature that I wrote into the program, so I can reset it like I said earlier, and I can use the keypad to move around, which is just a nice little feature that I added. So yeah, so I have these features down here. So opens all the servos, so it just lets all the air out. As you can see, all the air is just emptied, and the syringe refills. And if I hit the close button over here, close, it closes all the servos. So all of the tubes are now closed again, back to its normal state. And then the cycle button just does that. It just opens it and closes it just back to back. And then the fill over here, it just makes the syringe go to all the way open, which is what it is now, and then empties out the syringe entirely. So that was just debug sort of stuff. Oh yeah, another thing that I added that I thought was pretty cool was, I'll just enter in more numbers. That's a good amount, I think. Yeah, it won't be quite enough. Let's go 15 here. Let's make it so you can see a full curvature. So, send. So one of the things that I added was that it'll fill. So like I said, it fills around this from here, here. That's just how it reads through the pattern. But I made it so that it will progressively move along until it reaches like its minimum, like until it can't go any farther, and then it will reset back to the beginning. See, there it goes. So that just makes the filling more like faster and repeatable. And then the reason it opens, so every time it opens up, there's this because you need to get air into the system and the air, I guess, out of the system, it needs to every time open up the exit or like inlet valve. And it does that. I have it do that because that resets the whole like air pressure in the system, which makes it a repeatable, like every single time I add air, it will be the same amount of air, no matter which cell I add it to. So that was a useful feature. And yeah, there you can see like a little bit of curvature. The more volume of air I add, the more, curvature, obviously. So yeah, overall, I would say like I learned a lot through this project, just about like silicone to begin with. And just like I basically developed this full control system and like this control like matrix. Like I saw some different papers and that inspired it, but basically designed and built the whole thing from scratch. And I was very happy with how it turned out, how compact it is, and like how well it works, especially this part and like the syringe part. The syringe, like the problem with using air is it's compressible. So it can be hard, like when you're adding more air, to like know what the pressure is. And there's like back pressure, which does some funky stuff, but whatever, that would be a later problem to fix. Also, some of these bubbles have holes in them still, like so they leak over time. But I mean, of course, like I had it set up overnight, and like there was still air in some of these bubbles that I had left from overnight. It wasn't like completely full, but it wasn't completely empty either. So that's kind of impressive. And yeah, but I learned a lot more about coding, like Python and GUI design, and like I just made it how I wanted it to. Like there's nothing special about that. And then more CAD work. So I did a lot more CAD work, designing all these different pieces, and then just a lot of Arduino control, which is what the base of this system is. And then like especially integration between the Arduino and the Python, so I can run it on my computer and control it. But yeah, the one thing with this is like having all the tubes. So the tubes come through the bottom, as you can see, like all of the air comes in from the bottom. It's not a really good way to show that other than just telling you. So it comes in from this header of tubes, then it would pipe in and then come up from the bottom of each one of these. So like there's just like a line of tubes going through. I think I can show it over here. So like this is the mold piece, this is what it looks like. So as you can see, the air would come up in here and then go to each one. So it's sort of like a circuit is the way I designed it. So that was kind of nice, but that requires there to be four pieces for the mold, because the one piece of the mold is both the like cubes themselves and the divider pieces. So like all of this, so it creates this top piece, and then all of these cubes have like divider between them. So it's one big piece, but it comes out as two pieces. And then there's like the channel piece, and then there's like a base piece that holds, like, because the air has to not go out the bottom of the channels. So just a little bit different mold design and silicone work. And there's like some improvements that could be done there to prevent leaking in the future. And, just more work on the controllable surface side. But like, this is a good start for the future work. And I'm overall very pleased. And yeah, I learned a lot. Very thankful for this opportunity to work at Dordt this summer and get some research and like design and development and testing experience. Got to see inside of the lab, like the hospital, and like learn about radiation and control systems, and like just make things up, basically. Like take an idea and run with it and see where it goes. So it was a good summer. Very impressed with the work that I got done. And yeah, I hope this made sense. I hope you could learn a little bit more from this video. And I hope you have a good rest of your time. Whatever day, I guess. Sure. Thank you. Bye-bye.